Okay, hey guys, so thanks for joining us on this webinar. So my name is Marcus Taylor, and so for the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to be walking through 5 steps that you can follow to 3x your inbound leads. So my goal for the next 45 minutes is for everyone on this webinar to take away at least 1 or 2, possibly even more, things that you can take away, implement into what you're doing, and generate 3 times as many leads from your current marketing activity. So we've got a lot to go through. So first of all, we're going to be looking at where to focus on in your lead generation funnel to maximize your results. Then we're going to be looking a little bit at lead capture forms and deconstructing what is it that actually makes a high converting lead form convert. What is it that separates good forms from great forms, forms that convert at 4% from those converting at 40%. And then we're going to dive into one specific tactic that you can use that will 2 to 3x your inbound leads. And this is something that we've done a lot of testing on across our own sites at Venture Harbor with really good results. I'm going to explain how you can take that, apply it to what you're doing to generate more leads. And then we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and look at what to do after the inquiry. So we're going to look at things like segmenting your leads, using marketing automation, analyzing results to create a feedback loop that will enable you to optimize your lead gen funnel even more. And then finally, I want to focus on how you can actually take all of these different techniques and ideas that we're going to talk about and apply them into your business or your marketing campaigns to generate more results. And then finally, we're going to, if we have a bit of time at the end, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So diving straight into it, Lincoln Murphy, who's quite well known within the software and SaaS industry as a evangelist for customer success, said that 100% of the time, the biggest barrier to growth is not being deliberate. So I want to start by kind of being deliberate about where to focus on in your lead generation funnel. And I think being deliberate requires us to ask a really good question that is going to generate good answers as a result. So the question I'm proposing, and I'd encourage you to think about for this, is what is the one thing that you can do that would 3x your online leads within the next 3 months? The specific amount and duration doesn't really matter, but more the concept of what are the things that are going to have a significant amount of impact within a short space of time. And that's what I want to think about on this webinar and what I want to explore with these examples. So if we're to think about a few things, or one thing that is going to have disproportionate amount of impact on our lead generation results, we need to focus on a certain part of our funnel. Now, I'm sure everyone on this webinar, I'm sure you've all seen, very familiar with this. This is just a really basic, simplistic view of a marketing funnel. So typically, most marketing funnels, we're going to have top of the funnel, people coming into our website. Then we're going to have a sharp drop off of people actually going to either a product page or a contact page or request a demo, whatever it would be for your website. And then finally, there's another sharp drop off of people actually then becoming a lead. So if you're to 3x your leads within the next 3 months, you need to kind of pick a part of the funnel to focus on where you want to get 3 times as many people going through. So your options are, you could either triple your web traffic. The problem with this is that tripling your web traffic is quite expensive. If you were to just try to buy 3 times as much traffic, you're probably going to need to increase your marketing budget or buy a lot of traffic, and that's very expensive and it's difficult to maintain, because although it would work, if you increase your web traffic, you would probably get a significant increase in leads. You would have to continue paying to keep up the increase in leads. It's also relatively difficult and uncertain. If someone came to me and said, Marcus, can you triple our leads within 3 months by increasing our web traffic? It's very uncertain, and there are a lot of things that are outside of your control. So tripling the top of the funnel is quite difficult. If we move down, the second option we have to 3x online leads would be to triple the percentage of people that go through to the contact page. Now, this is a little bit better because if you are able to do that, it's low cost, and it would be a permanent increase. So if you made an improvement this month, the results would also, you also see the results next month, the month after, and on and on. So in that sense, it's quite good. It would also significantly reduce your cost per acquisition. So you'd be able to acquire leads more profitably going forward. The downside with this is that it's, again, quite difficult to control and influence. And if you were able to triple the percentage of people that were going through to your contact page or requesting a demo, you're likely to get a reduced lead quality, because the people that previously weren't going through presumably were not quite ready to become a lead. So you probably need to more than triple the percentage of people to actually get 3 times as many results. Now, your final option would be to triple the percentage of people that actually fill out your form. Now, this is where, for virtually all companies that I see, this is where one of the best areas to focus on, because there's so much opportunity here. These visitors are already interested. They're already on your contact page or your product page. They're already interested and ready. The results are almost instantaneous. If you were to make changes tomorrow to optimize your form, you would have results tomorrow. So the results are quick. It's low cost. It's a permanent increase. It significantly reduces your cost per acquisition. And relative to tripling web traffic and tripling the percentage of people going through to your contact page, it's relatively easy, because as marketers, we typically don't do forms very well. So there's a lot of opportunity to actually increase the results at the bottom of the funnel. So just to kind of attach some numbers to this, if we imagine if you were paying $1 per click or per visit to your site, if your form was converting at 2%, this would mean that for every $1,000 you're spending, you would receive 20 leads, which means your cost per acquisition is going to be $50. Now, if you were to increase your form conversion rate from 2% to 6%, you've tripled your leads. Suddenly, for every $1,000 you spend, you're getting 60 leads. But also, your cost per acquisition goes down. Now, for the same amount of same $1,000 spend, you're getting a cost per acquisition of $16.66, which means you can spend more and acquire leads more profitably. So when you increase the conversion rate at the bottom of the funnel on your lead capture form, you not only capture more leads, but you reduce the cost per acquisition. So you kind of have this double whammy effect that increases the results. Now, you might be wondering, that's mathematically, all well and good, but can you actually triple leads by changing a form? Is that actually realistic? And the answer is a resounding yes. If you go to Google and search for, A/B testing forms, form optimization case studies, there's a huge number of case studies that come up of companies that have just changed even small things in their forms and had huge 100, 200, 300% increases in leads. And it's something that at Venture Harbor we've seen across numerous of our own ventures and clients we've worked with. And the reason is just that there's so much opportunity, and because it's such a high leverage point of the funnel, when you make these kind of small tweaks, they can actually have big impact upstream. And this is true of regardless of what kind of business you're running, what size of business. HP, a huge enterprise company, recently released a case study where they streamlined some of the things in their lead capture form, increased their leads by 186% from that form. Lots of really good case studies on sites like Conversion Excel, Marketing Sherpa, of all kinds of different businesses that are increasing their leads from improving their forms. So the next step is understanding what is it that actually, what should you be testing? What should we change? What is it that actually makes a form convert really well? So when we were building Leadformly, which Leadformly is a form builder that we created that makes it really easy to build these kind of high converting lead capture forms. We spent a lot of time studying high converting forms and trying to get our heads around what is it that separates good forms from great forms. What is it that you need to do to really drive conversions, a lot of conversions through a form? And we found that broadly speaking, there was kind of 5 different things: motivation, ability, peace of mind, ease, and engagement. These 5 different areas influence how likely a form was to convert. Now, I'll go through each of these in a bit more detail in a moment. But each of these areas has a huge number of different sub-factors. And we've put together a completely free checklist that you can use We'll share the URL at the end of the webinar. But we put together this completely free checklist that has 35 different things that you can evaluate your forms on, so that you can sort of apply this to your forms to get some ideas on how you can increase your conversion rates. So starting at the bottom of this pyramid, we have motivation. Motivation is one of the most important things influencing the conversion rate of your form. If you think about it, people aren't using forms to send an inquiry. People are using your forms to reach a desired outcome. And the motivation that is driving that outcome significantly impacts your conversion rate. A slightly exaggerated but good way of thinking about this is that imagine if you were to give away a free Ferrari to every single person that used the form on your website. Immediately your conversion rate would likely go up to 100%. Now that's kind of interesting when you think about it, because nothing about the actual form has changed. And this illustrates the point how the thing that sits on the other side of using your form has a really big impact on people using the form itself. A lot of, when you read about form usability and conversion optimization around forms, a lot of people kind of start by talking about, simplifying the form, reducing the number of fields, etc. But the thing that is really kind of at the base of every form's conversion rate is why people are actually using it in the first place. It has a huge impact. And it's something that you definitely want to think about. Are you clearly communicating, whether visually or explicitly through text, what that benefit is, and working to increase the motivation to use your forms? The next step is ability. Of course, the ability to use your forms is really, really important. A lot of people think of this more in terms of making the form bug-free, compatible with different devices and different browsers. But you really want to go beyond this and thinking more about, is it usable by people with different disabilities? Is it easy to use your form in different lighting conditions? If someone's outside in the sunshine trying to use your form on a small mobile device, can they actually see your form? Now, this stuff's, it sounds kind of common sense, but so many forms are really surprisingly difficult to use, and you don't want to be losing leads as a result of someone not being able to use your form. So really important to get this stuff right. The next step is peace of mind. Are you asking questions that are creating friction? Do people have unaddressed concerns about sharing their information with you? I was recently using a e-commerce site which asked for, can you guys still hear me okay? Just seen someone has said no sound. Can you hear okay? Okay, yeah, okay, so people are saying they can hear. Okay, it's just one person. Okay, so peace of mind, as I mentioned, I was using a site recently that was saying, it was asking for my address, and it had no reason to ask for my address. So it kind of made me think, are these guys going to be sending me stuff? I don't really want them to be sending me stuff in the post. And so it's really quite important to try and eliminate any questions on your form that might create some friction, and even going beyond that to try and build trust. One of my favorite examples of this is a website called toptal.com. And their registration forms and lead capture forms are really, really impressive. I've got a screenshot here. You can see they really emphasize creating a risk-free trial, emphasizing all the big brands that they work with to build trust. Even the little things like how they design their forms, having these little padlocks within the form fields to emphasize security. Little things have a big impact on actually ensuring that people trust and have peace of mind while using your forms. Ease of use. As a general rule of thumb, the easier your forms are to use, the more leads you're going to capture. Favorite example of this is Microsoft. When Microsoft changed from XP to Vista, they changed the shutdown prompt from the one you can see on the left, where you just need to click once, to the one on the right, where it actually takes 3 clicks to shut your computer down, because you have to click the drop down and then select shutdown and then click OK. Now that might seem like quite a trivial difference, but it significantly decreased the number of people that were shutting their computers down. And I think this really illustrates how, it's important not to underestimate just how, important making your forms as simple and easy as possible is. It can have, that slight reduction in cognitive load, and the number of clicks someone has to make to use your form can actually have quite a big impact on overall conversions. And finally, we have engagement, how engaging your forms are. So one thing that we noticed from studying all these forms is that the best converting forms that we've seen don't actually really feel like forms. At Venture Hub, we've built numerous forms that are converting above 40%. And the way that we were able to do that was to try and kind of make the forms feel more like quizzes or tools that actually give value to the user before asking them to submit their information. And I think this is kind of where lead capture is going, is making these forms more quiz-like, more tool-like. And this is the reason this is at the top of our pyramid, is because this is quite hard to get to, and it's the thing that I generally find is the difference between a form that's converting at 4% or 5% and a form that converts in double figures. So if you can get your forms to a point where they're really engaging and more like a tool, that's kind of where you get to some of the best results. Okay, so leading on from that, there's one specific tactic that if you implement will have such a big impact on your overall conversions. When we applied this to some of our sites at Venture Harbor, we doubled, tripled the number of inbound leads that we were receiving. So when we were looking through all these different forms and trying to kind of understand what was working and what wasn't, we found that most lead capture forms fall into one of two categories. We have me forms, which are forms that are kind of all about me. They're all about your business capturing the lead. And then we have us forms, which are forms that kind of simultaneously give value to the user while also capturing that user's information. And what we found was that us forms, these forms that kind of give value before or while capturing information, typically convert 2 to 3 times better than forms that simply focus on capturing information. So this example was quite interesting. Crazy Egg and Mouseflow, both a very similar service, same industry. Whereas Mouseflow is kind of a me form. If you look at their lead capture forms, it simply says sign up now, enter your email address, password, domain name, and then click a button that says finish. Whereas Crazy Egg, on the other hand, if we look at what their form is actually doing, it's all focused on the user. It says, what's making your visitors leave? Find out by seeing how users click and scroll through your website. And then the call to action, the actual form, starts by asking for my website URL, with the call to action being show me my heat map. So and of course, as you after you click that, they then go on to trying to capture more of your information. But the point is that the initial, when we're using forms, we're kind of starting a relationship, and the initial thing that Crazy Egg is doing is they're making this all about me, which makes me more likely to engage with their form, as opposed to the Mouseflow form, which is just another generic web form, which is not particularly enticing. So if there's one thing that you take away from this webinar, and one thing that you want to try, I'd highly recommend thinking more about creating an us form, a form that benefits the user and gives value instantly to the user, as opposed to this the me type of form. And the reason this works is all to do with motivation. As we talked about, we mentioned earlier in the pyramid, by focusing on the user, you're going to increase their motivation to actually use the form, which is why it increases conversions. So when we tested this at Venture Harbor, we tested this on a website called Broken Oats, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail in a minute. But we increased the conversions for Broken Oats by 212%, generating 212% more leads, by focusing on building a form that was less about us capturing a lead, more about the person on that site actually getting value. We've tested this even in, so for Venture Harbor, for our consulting, originally we had like a basic generic web form that just asked people to enter name, email address, and some information about the project, their project. And we have tested recently replacing this with something that is more focused on them. So we're asking, are you interested in optimizing your website? Yes, I'm interested. And then we're actually asking, how would you like to work with us? And they can then select, between images saying, I want to increase my traffic, want to increase my conversions. So it's very much about them. And we've already noticed, I think, the last time I checked, I think we almost tripled the number of people using the form on ventureharbor.com. So it's really simple tactic, but can have quite a profound impact on generating leads. Okay, so shifting gears now a little bit to focus more on what to do after you receive the leads. So things like automation, segmentation, and analysis. So there was a really interesting study a couple of years ago that was posted on the Harvard Business Review, that these researchers found that companies that responded to leads within 1 hour were 7 times more likely to qualify that lead than companies that took more than 1 hour to respond. And this relationship between the time responding to leads and the likelihood of converting or qualifying them was exponential. So companies that took more than 24 hours to respond to a lead were roughly more than 60 times less likely to qualify the lead than companies that responded within 1 hour. So the speed and the time that it takes you to respond to the leads is really important in terms of being able to qualify that lead and actually make the sale. So the challenge with this is that we're all human. We're not able to sit at a computer 24 hours a day responding to leads. And so this is where marketing automation comes in and can be really, really helpful, where you can automate responding to your leads in a way that is still personal. So we tried this at Venture Harbor. This is a screenshot of an automation campaign we built in Active Campaign. If you're using any email marketing tool or any marketing automation service, this takes about half an hour to set up, and I swear it's such a valuable, quick and easy thing that has such a big impact on increasing qualified leads. So basically what we're doing here is, as soon as someone uses one of our forms, we're creating an automation rule that says after 20 minutes, wait for 20 minutes and then send this person an email. And the trick is to make this email seem personal. So you don't want it to seem too automated, which is where a lot of companies go wrong with these kind of auto response emails. So this is the one that we tried with Venture Harbor. The subject line just, when's convenient to talk? And I said, hi Marcus, thanks for getting in touch. It'd be great to arrange a call to discuss your project in more detail and see what we might be able to help. You can see my availability and schedule below, and then there's a link to arrange a call, scheduling a call. Now, when we tried this, we saw a significant uplift in the number of people actually booking calls, and it was also a lot easier to qualify leads because we were striking the iron, striking while the iron was hot, and kind of responding to all of these leads within 20 minutes, regardless of when or how they were contacting us. So I'd highly recommend doing something like this, just to make sure that all of your leads are being followed up with quickly and consistently. So the next thing is to use data to better understand and optimize your lead generation efforts. I think it was Peter Drucker who said that what gets measured gets managed. And I mean, as we covered earlier, there's such a high point of leverage with optimizing the bottom of your funnel and optimizing your forms. This is definitely something that you want to be measuring, because if you're not measuring it, it's going to be really hard to improve your results over time. So I'd highly recommend, there's lots of really good tools out there. We've built form reporting into Leadformly, but there's some really good tools like Hotjar that allow you to do all of this kind of analysis. You could even do this in something like Google Analytics, but you'd have to get quite a bit of tagging set up. But I'd highly recommend, however, whatever you're doing with your forms, definitely make sure you're tracking what's going on at the bottom of the funnel, because when you do that, you'll be able to kind of identify trends and opportunities to improve it. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is segmenting your leads and nurturing them based on their responses. So not all of your leads are, it's quite likely that your leads are all going to be quite different. You might have mixtures of high value leads, low value leads, leads that want service A, leads that want service B. Now, a lot of companies kind of throw all of their leads into a bucket and treat them all the same nurturing campaigns, all treated the same as when they come into the marketing funnel. Now, there's a lot of really good tools that you can use now to kind of segment your leads into different buckets and then nurture them differently based on their responses. So you could do things, for example, like if someone responds to a question in your form saying that they're an enterprise client or that they have a budget above a certain amount, you might want to put them into a specific nurturing campaign that you wouldn't want to send to your lower value clients. And when you start segmenting and nurturing leads differently based on what they respond in your form, that's when you can start to do really personalized campaigns. And the more personalized your nurturing campaigns are, the better they're likely to perform, generally speaking. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot of ground so far. We've looked at how focusing on high leverage points in your funnel can boost leads. We've looked at 5 things that can influence form conversion rates, being the form optimization pyramid. We've looked at how to triple inbound leads from going from a me form to an us form, 7xing lead qualification rates by following up with people quickly, and how you can automate that using marketing automation, and then why value segmenting your leads and using analysis. The next step is, how do you actually take all of these insights and put them into action? So I want to share a story with you on how we used to do this at Venture Harbor. So last year, we one of our websites, a website called Broken Oats, we were converting at about 16%, which was reasonably good. But we were hungry to improve the performance of this website. And this website's in an industry where traffic is incredibly expensive. This is in the financial niche, where the cost per click for some keywords will be, £60, $100. So we really want to squeeze as much value out of our, the traffic we're already receiving as possible, rather than spending more and acquiring more traffic. So we spent a lot of time analyzing our forms, and eventually we were able to increase our conversion rate up to 43%. The way that we increased it from 16% to 43% was using all the things that we've just covered in this webinar. We spent a lot of time thinking about the motivation to use the form, making sure the ability to use it was very good, improving peace of mind for people using it, making it as easy as possible and making it really engaging, using the us form concept. All of this stuff we applied to Broken Oats, and it had a really, really huge impact on effectively tripling the number of leads that we were receiving without increasing our traffic. Now, the way that we actually did that was quite, although the results were good, the process was quite frustrating. We spent a lot of time analyzing data to try and understand what we should actually change on the form. And then we went to a UX designer and got this new form designed based on our criteria. Then we had to go to the developers, who then built it. Cost quite a bit of money, and then there was a lot of back and forward fixing bugs. And then finally, we got to a point where we could A/B test it. When we A/B tested it, we saw that the ROI was good, and we were generating really good results. So we took that concept, knowing that the type of forms we were building were working quite well, and we tested it on a few other websites, because we run quite a few different ventures, different niches, different industries, as well as consulting to clients. And we wanted to increase the conversion rate across all of our different sites we run. So we repeated this same process. We took a couple of different sites, did the research, got the UX designer, hired developers, tested the forms for bugs, went back to developers to fix the bugs. And in total, this was taking about 2 to 4 months per cycle just to get a form up. And the cost, total cost, was about $2,000 to $8,000 per cycle, for all the development fees, design fees, and everything that had to go into that process. Now, as I say, the ROI was good, and we generated really good results from it, but that's still a ludicrous amount of time and money for something as simple as a form. And so we basically ended up building our own software to solve this problem that we had, which is why we built Leadformly. So Leadformly, as I briefly mentioned earlier, it's a a form builder designed to create high converting lead generation forms that does all the things that we talked about today are kind of baked into Leadformly. So we kind of noticed that lead generation forms have such a big impact on performance of on the results of all of your online lead generation activity. And when you improve the form, it improves the performance of all of your content marketing efforts, because all of your content that's driving traffic to your forms, that conversion rate increases. It improves all of your paid search, all of the activity you're doing. When you get your form right, it has such a big ripple effect. But getting these forms right was difficult and time consuming. And so we decided to kind of create a drag and drop builder that meant that you could basically just point and click really quickly build these really nice forms that have all of this stuff baked into it. So all the stuff that we talked about segmenting leads, automatically following up with leads quickly, measuring all of your results and reporting, all of that we've built into Leadformly. And we actually launched this yesterday. So we've been testing Leadformly privately for about 6 months, and we just opened up the early adopter program yesterday. Really good results so far. We've got lots of interest from people, and lots of beta testers signed up. What we're doing is we're going to run a special offer for everyone on this webinar. If you're interested, if this sounds like something that might be able to help you, we're doing a special offer where we have 10 spaces available, I believe, for our early adopter program left. The reason we're only taking on a very small number of people is because we want to be able to spend time with every single person that joins the early adopter program, and if need be, kind of spend time helping them design forms and upgrading their lead capture forms manually, because at the end of the day, we want to generate some really good case studies for Leadformly and get some really good results for our initial users. So the early adopter program is available. What we're doing as a kind of special offer for people on this webinar, I'm personally going to spend 2 hours, throw in 2 hours of consulting to anyone that signs up from this webinar, as well as all of the extras that we're offering in the early adopter program offer, which includes instant unlimited access to Leadformly. You get a price that's locked in for life, unlimited support from our team, building your forms, and much more. There's a link up here to learn more about the early adopter program. If you think it's interested, leave a comment below. What we'll do is we'll get back to you, have a look at your website, and we'll drop you an email just to kind of discuss it a little bit more. And if it's a good fit, if we think we can help you increase your conversion rate, we will then send you a link to actually sign up for the program. The program does cost $49 a month, paid quarterly, but we're also throwing in 2 hours of consulting as a little bit of extra for you guys. So that's all for the webinar. So if anyone has any questions, if you want to post them in the live chat box below, we can work for any questions. Okay, Ashok has just asked, is there a replay as you joined towards the end of the webinar? Yes, what I'll do is we've recorded this, so I'll send an email around probably tomorrow morning, so that you're able to rewatch the first half of it. So that's fine. Okay, Mark has asked, sounds interesting, how is the design stage of the forms done? So the way that this works, basically we have a set of templates in Leadformly, which have already been designed by a professional UX designer and already been tested. What you're able to do is then basically in Leadformly's customizer, you can just drag and drop the different questions that you want to use, and then just click on any element and change, the color, the text, anything. So if we go here, you can kind of see how the form builder looks. You can basically just click on anything, and it's really easy to customize. Just through drag and drop. So you don't need any design skills. You don't need to be a developer or a designer to build high converting forms. Any other questions? Any more questions, guys? Okay, so Ashok, on a website, what is needed to integrate Leadformly? Nothing. So basically, when you build a form in Leadformly, you end up with about 5 lines of code. It's just a really simple embed code, kind of like kind of similar to something like MailChimp, where you're just given a small snippet of code, and you basically just drag and drop that into your website. We've tested Leadformly forms on WordPress sites, as well as a range of different CMSs. So as far as we've tested so far, it works across virtually any website, and you just drag and drop the code where you want the form to appear. Okay. Thank you, Nicola. Okay, any other questions? Awesome. Thank you, Oles. Thank you. Cool. So if any of you guys are interested in Leadformly, feel free to drop me an email. Email is marcus@ventureharbor.com. I'll quickly post that in the chat, or just let me know here, and we'll get back in touch. Okay, Nicola, here's a question. Can you describe a case of using Leadformly in conjunction with other automation software like MailChimp? Yes, so we actually use, at Venture Harbor, we're using Leadformly in conjunction with ActiveCampaign in quite a few situations. So what we're basically doing is, for example, we'll have a Leadformly form that might ask a question such as, name, email address, etc. And then we might ask for, what is your budget if it's a consulting client? And then based on the answer to that, for example, if someone says, my budget is less than $5,000, we would enter them into a certain automation sequence in ActiveCampaign. Whereas if they respond, their budget is between $5,000 and $10,000, we might put them into a different automation sequence. So it's really like the way that I kind of see it is Leadformly is your front end. It's the bit that kind of does a really good job of actually converting the leads and getting them into your mailing list or CRM. And then you use your kind of marketing automation or your email service to then do a really good job of following up with those leads, nurturing them, qualifying them until you get to the point of the sale. So Leadformly is not a we've tried really hard not to build a piece of software that tries to do everything. Leadformly is really good at the lead capture forms, and that kind of is the first. It's the bottom of the funnel, but it's the first piece in actually getting the lead into the right list or the right funnel, and then you can then do all the nurturing with tools like Infusionsoft or MailChimp or whichever tool you're using. Cool. Any last questions? So thank you, Nicola. Okie dokie, guys. I think that's a wrap. So any questions? If anyone, Mark's just asked for an example of Leadformly. Yep. So you can. We've actually got an example of Leadformly on the early adopter. Let me just send you a link. So on this link, if you scroll down, the application form on that page is actually a Leadformly form. Another example. I believe also the form you used to sign up for this webinar was also a Leadformly form. Also the homepage of ventureharbor.com, we have a Leadformly form as well. So you can have a look at those examples. They're really kind of, although we're sort of doing a lot of testing, they're still kind of basic examples of what you can do in Leadformly. They should give you an idea as to some of the features like conditional logic and having like nice multi-step forms with progress bars. All of that's really easy to build in Leadformly. Okay, any other questions? Okay, how long do you think it will take to build case studies with first users? So we're expecting that our early adopter program is probably going to last for about 1 to 2 months, depending on how things go. So we're hoping. I mean, the nice thing with optimizing forms is that, you know, if we took your website, for example, and we changed the form, you know, on this Friday, we would probably be able to see the impact of it by, you know, within 1 week. So the actual turnaround time is relatively quick to get results. So we're expecting to kind of basically not take on any more users for as soon as we, as I said, we've got about 10 spots left, I think. As soon as we take those 10, fill those 10 spots, we'll be shutting down registration, and then I think it will be a couple of months just while we work with those initial users to get some good case studies. Yeah, I'm expecting it's probably going to go on to about July, August. Okay, any last questions? Let's do one more question if anyone has one. Okay, thanks, Oles. Any last questions? Or are we all good? Okay, I think we're all good, guys. So, as I say, any other questions, feel free to drop me an email at marcus@ventureharbour.com. But thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been valuable to you, and I hope you can take some of these insights away, apply them to what you're doing, and get some really good results. Feel free to drop me a line anytime if you want me to have a look at what you're doing or anything like that. But otherwise, yeah, really appreciate you watching this webinar, and until next time, thank you.